Another petroleum tanker explodes on Lagos-Ogun border, throwing traffic into logjam across Lagos. EFCC backpedals in court on its statements on Shehu Sani. On the international scene, Italy's neighbors consider border controls in light of coronavirus. And in sport, Zimbabwe barred from hosting internationals until further notice.
This is ANN News.
I am Olajumoke Olatunji. It has happened again. Lagos traffic has been chaotic on Wednesday after another petrol tanker exploded on the bridge of the Ogun-Lagos border on Tuesday night. The flame from the explosion was described by an inferno by the Federal Road Safety Corps on the long bridge along the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway, just seconds from the Lagos border. Traffic was diverted to other routes for inbound and outbound traffic as that section of the expressway was closed to traffic. Federal Road Safety Corps officials say the flames kept reigniting even after several efforts to extinguish it. As a result, debris could not be immediately removed from the highway. Some of the alternative routes made traveling much longer for some motorists, some intending to use the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway, even on the mainland of Lagos, had to go way out of their route to Victoria Island and travel via Ajah to Ijebu-Ode to be able to connect with the highway to continue their trip. Some motorists heading into Lagos were diverted to Shagamu, from where they would connect with Ikorodu to head back into Lagos. Even that was chaotic as traffic was tied up all the way. The Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, has made an about-face in its presentation in court on Wednesday concerning its statements on former lawmaker Shehu Sani. EFCC had sued Sani for an alleged $25,000 it says was given to him by ASD Motors founder Alhaji Sani Dauda. On Tuesday, EFCC's lawyer had presented to the court documents that said the commission was prosecuting Sani for $10,000. That amount was later published on the commission's official Twitter page. Sani's legal team seized on the contradictory statements to demand clarity on the amount for which Sani was being prosecuted. Later, on the cross-examination, a witness from Guaranty Trust Bank said he had transferred money from ASD Motors account to somebody else, one Mr. Abubakar, not Shehu Sani. Abubakar, a bureau de change operator and EFCC witness, said he did foreign exchange transaction for the son of ASD Motors in November last year. When Abubakar, the BDC operator, was asked to identify Sani, he said he had never even seen Senator Shehu Sani in his life, so he could not have changed foreign currency to local currency for him. The case, which was being observed in court by National Human Rights Commission and Amnesty International officials, was adjourned until May. Nigeria has been experimenting with a cashless policy for some time. Now the central bank says the country will go fully cashless from April the 1st. And it's not an April Fool's joke. The central bank says there is no going back on the full implementation of the cashless policy. Reporter Kelechi Mekalam has the details.
This is a one-stop shop for all kinds of utility payments, from electricity bills to cable television and internet services. Anu Oluwakmo Samuel has been running the service for over 10 years now, and until recently, transactions have been mainly cash.
When the whole cashless policy came out and then we just set ourselves, that saves us a whole lot of stress of moving cash from one point to another, because the nature of the business we do warrants that you turn over your sales, and for us it's better than moving cash and avoiding unnecessary risk.
Nigeria's central bank began the implementation of the first phase of its cashless policy in 2012 in the commercial capital, Lagos. So far, 7 of the 37 states have fully adopted the policy, expected to go countrywide by April 1. Among other benefits, the policy seeks to ease access to bank loans and increase tax revenues.
We are hoping to achieve a situation where there will be a reduced case of corruption in Nigeria. With the cashless policy, there will be less physical notes in circulation. Also the banks will become more accountable, as transactions should be going through the banks and through the automated systems.
However, the policy comes with its challenges. Nearly half of Nigeria's 200 million population still do not have bank accounts.
Majority of that population that are unbanked are in the deep, far-rooted rural areas. How do you impose cashless on them when there are no banking systems or there are no technologies that will reach them in their own grassroots areas?
And then with the issue of POS, when you use POS for customers, the cash don't drop immediately. They take like 24, 48 hours to drop, and that is also really affecting the business.
With a reduction in bank charges, enhanced platforms for cashless transactions, and closing the gap of the unbanked population, the policy would record success.
Death to kidnappers, and that is what Osun State House of Assembly is proposing for anyone convicted of kidnapping in the states. The death penalty proposal was brought to a public hearing. The lawmakers had unanimously agreed on the proposed punishment for anyone found culpable of kidnapping. The proposal was applauded by different groups at the public hearing. Assembly Speaker Timothy Owoye said at the event the recent kidnapping and killing of a Lagos State University student Favour Dale Oladele by her boyfriend from money rituals would attract the death penalty.
Coming up, African news. Ghanaian businesses suffer as Nigerian shops close in Accra. And later, international news. Italy's neighbors consider border controls in light of coronavirus outbreak.
Today, night out reach for me to settle blessing. Blessing for you. When this girl first got this my shop called network. Now so on top of NTF 4G phone. Now this girl could press. I provoke. I power no in short. Reach what time, eh? The ambulance to make her tell her to make she mash her act. Come out from my shop. And later I come realize say this girl go snap am. Put her for inside internet. They take her to adverts. Now I make customers that they come with my shop. Blessing, I want make you help me manage my shop now.
My name, but I think Nami and Blessing start work the same time.
Now you and Blessing start work the same time. Blessing, you better start with a T-shirt for top of your 4G MTN phone.
Business makes sense on top super fast and reliable MTN 4G. Join MTN, make you enjoy double data.
Welcome back. This is ANN News. Now to African stories. Egypt has held a military funeral for deceased former President Hosni Mubarak, who died on Tuesday at the age of 91. The country is also observing a 3-day national mourning. The 2011 Arab Spring uprising spelled doom for Mubarak's regime after 30 years in power. After being forced from office, Mubarak spent 6 years in prison and military hospitals while being tried for various offenses. Mubarak received a life sentence in 2012 for conviction on complicity in the murder of protesters during the Arab Spring uprising. The conviction was thrown out in an appeal. Provision results from Togo's election show incumbent President Farouk Ghassingbe winning re-election. This cements his family's political dynasty. But the opposition is not accepting the results. Reporter Asta Toll has the story from Lomé.
Over 2 million Togolese cast their vote in the February 22nd presidential election. 7 candidates were vying for the top spot. The Independent Electoral Commission announced the provisional results.
The candidate for UNIR, Mr. Nansibe Esozima Faure, is provisionally declared the President of Togo.
Est proclamé provisoirement élu
While there was applause from the Simbe supporters in the room, in other parts of Lome, there was little celebration. Agbeyome Kojo, who according to Seni came in second place with 18% of the votes, rejected the results. Kojo had declared himself the winner before the provisional results were read.
We reject the results which have been announced. These results were concocted in the ruling party laboratory and announced by the Seni. We believe that through peace we will enter into power. So according to the vote which the people gave us, through their vote we have the legitimate right to act. The next step will be the nomination of the Prime Minister.
The results which were announced were only provisional. It will now be up to a constitutional court to confirm them and decide whether Faure Gnassingbe will rule the country for another 5 years.
In the last quarter of 2019, the Ghana Union of Traders Association shut down at least 70 Nigerian-owned businesses, mostly in Accra, in what it said was a response to Nigeria's closure of its border to import and export. Now, Ghanaian businesses are hurting as the supply chain, mostly from Nigerian businesses, has been cut off. Nabil Ahmed Rufai reports.
Emmanuel Sechi fixes faulty phones in Accra's business district. He buys his repair parts from Nigerian traders who sell close to his shop. But for the past 4 months, he's been losing business because the shops he usually buys from have been forcibly locked up.
They have closed the shop for too much, and I think they have to open the shop for us because there are a lot of things that we need to fix the phones. There are a lot of things that people are brought to us here that we have to fix it. But it's only Nigerians who have those things.
In November, the Ghana Union Traders Association locked up more than 600 shops operated by foreigners in Accra's central business districts. They claim the shops were operating in violation of a law which bans foreigners from engaging in retail operations. It's meant to protect Ghanaian jobs, but as the months drag on, the impact is spreading.
It's affecting both Nigerians and Ghanaians because sometimes some of the goods are cheaper than what other people are selling, and even those who've rented shops to Nigerians are being affected.
Some Nigerian traders say the lockup could impact the African Continental Free Trade Area, which is meant to boost intra-African trade. Instead, they warn that anti-foreigner sentiment could push investors away.
Many people have left Ghana in the last 2 years because when these people start carrying this gong going around that they don't want foreigners in the market, many people have left. That is not good for any economy. It's not good for West Africans.
But the Ghanaian traders say they only want to ensure retail business in the country is properly regulated.
We are just trying to enforce a law that's supposed to be enforced by the executive arm of this country. Local businesses are dying because foreigners are taking over the local markets.
The government set up a committee to verify the business permits of foreign retail firms in order to resolve the situation, but most have failed to submit their documents. It is unclear how many businesses are operating illegally in the country. As for Emmanuel Sechi, he just wants the situation to be resolved so he can get back to business as usual.
It's uncertain when these shops of Nigerians will be reopened for business, but the government says it is collaborating with both the Nigerian and Ghanaian traders to find a lasting solution to the situation as soon as possible.
When we return, international news. Italy's neighbors consider border controls in light of coronavirus outbreak. And later, sports. Zimbabwe barred from hosting internationals until further notice.
Welcome back. This is ANN News. On the international scene. Despite worrisome new outbreaks in Iran, Italy and South Korea, the World Health Organization says coronavirus is not currently a pandemic. WHO Director General Tedros Ghebreyesus says the sudden increase in cases in Italy, Iran and South Korea is deeply concerning, but at present there is no international uncontained spread. Reporter Guy Henderson gives us the details.
WHO's advice for countries like Italy, countries like the Republic of Korea, which are now seeing significant outbreaks, is that they should act in line with World Health Organization guidelines as they see fit for their own individual circumstances. What officials here in Geneva have also made clear, though, is that now is the time to prepare for a possible continued spread of this virus in a number of other countries, but they don't at this stage call it a pandemic.
For the moment, we are not witnessing the uncontained global spread of this virus, and we are not witnessing large-scale severe disease or deaths. Does this virus have pandemic potential? Absolutely, it has. Are we there yet? From our assessment, not yet. The sudden increase in new cases is certainly very concerning. I have spoken consistently about the need for facts, not fear. Using the word pandemic now does not fit the facts, but it may certainly cause fear.
As the deadly coronavirus continues to spread across Europe, Italy has become the continent's worst affected country, with more than 300 cases and 11 deaths. Austria, Croatia and Switzerland say cases in their countries involve people who had been to Italy, while Italy's neighbor had decided closing borders would be disproportionate. Health ministers from France, Germany, Italy and the EU Commission said at a meeting on Tuesday they will keep frontiers open as new cases of the virus emerged throughout Europe and in central and southern Italy. With more than 200 positive cases in parts of northern Italy, neighboring countries are anxious. Austria is considering stopping all rail traffic from Italy and imposing other controls on its border with its southern neighbor. Local health authorities spokeswoman says 2 Italian immigrants who live in the Austrian region of Tyrol and who recently returned from a trip to northern Italy tested positive for the virus. Croatia's prime minister confirmed the country's first COVID-19 case Tuesday as hundreds of tourists returned from Italy. So far, 13 persons in Britain have tested positive for COVID-19. 4 were travelers repatriated from the Diamond Princess cruise ship in Japan. Most Chinese enterprises have rolled out active precaution measures as they resume production in the midst of the national fight against the coronavirus outbreak. And more than 20 factories across China under the U.S. agribusiness giant Cargill resumed production, following instructions of the local government in a bid to guarantee supply during the outbreak.
Chongqing Yubei factory of China's Chang'an Automobile has resumed production for a week. The main force on the production line includes over 700 robots with the automation rate at 90%. That helps avoid the close contact of workers. Elsewhere in Beijing Automotive's Zhuzhou No. 2 factory, workers are keeping a distance from each other. The firm has set up a commando team of nearly 60 people to carry out inspections, disinfection, and other anti-epidemic measures. The company has also developed a cloud system to monitor the health status of employees.
Through this mobile app, we can know who gathered where at what time.
Going into Tesla Shanghai factory in Shanghai, we see more than 2,000 workers on the production line. Tesla Shanghai resumed production as early as on February the 10th. That came with the help of the Lingang New Area Administration. It contacted the company to learn its needs and provided 2 thermometers, 10,000 masks, and 600 dormitories for Tesla, and also coordinated 8 upstream and downstream enterprises to return to work.
Sometimes we go to check 3 times a day. We have also made several independent apartments available for our 600 new employees.
In Beijing, close management is implemented for the 2 metro lines under construction, and employees are required to register for temperature measurement every day.
A dormitory room should accommodate no more than 4 migrant workers who have not been isolated for as long as 14 days after returning to Beijing. They are served in a non-contact manner and are required to eat alone.
The Chinese central and local governments have issued a series of policies to help enterprises resume production. The policies include financial support, tax relief, and employment subsidies. At present, most firms in China have returned to work.
Delhi, India remains on edge after a third consecutive night of rioting, with reports of Muslim homes and shops being targeted by violent mobs. Death toll rose with 23 persons killed so far in the deadliest violence the Indian capital has seen in decades. The clashes first broke out on Sunday between protesters for and against the controversial citizenship law, but they have since taken on communal overtones, with reports of many Muslims being attacked. The Delhi High Court, which is hearing petitions about the violence, has said it cannot let another 1984 happen on its watch. That is a reference to the 1984 anti-Sikh riots in the city, which more than 3,000 Sikhs were killed. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has appealed for peace.
Up next, sports. Zimbabwe barred from hosting internationals until further notice. Please stay with us.
Welcome back. This is ANN News and Sport. The Confederation of African Football has barred Zimbabwe from hosting any international matches until further notice. CAF says the country's main stadium does not meet required standards. This means Zimbabwe's key 2021 Africa Cup of Nations qualifier against Algeria next month will have to be played in a neutral venue. Zimbabwe Football Association says it is already looking for an alternative stadium. CAF has asked for improvements to 3 stadiums, none of which has yet been addressed. Six Nations organizers have said they are in close contact with the Irish rugby chiefs to discuss next month's game against Italy. Country's public health emergency team headed by Simon Harris said the fixture would be, quote, a significant risk because a very large number of people will be traveling from what is now a coronavirus-affected region. Scotland women's match in Italy on Sunday was cancelled and is yet to be rearranged, while 2 club rugby matches involving Italian sides were also called off. Japan has insisted the Tokyo Olympics would not be affected by the outbreak after a veteran Olympic official said the games could be cancelled. That is ANN News this evening. Thank you for joining us. For details on these and other breaking stories, visit our website, annafrica.news. Conversation continues on our social media platforms, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at ANN Africa TV. I am Olajumoke Olatuji. Have a pleasant evening.